Hi everyone, how's everyone doing here today? Thank you for watching, and today I wanted to talk about something called HOPE. And what it is, it's the Homeless Outreach Population Estimate. It's a volunteer initiative that I did back in 2016 for the Department of Homeless Services, and basically the goal is that each year we assist the agency and community partners in estimating the number of unsheltered individuals on the streets, in the parks, subways, and other public spaces across the city, namely the 5 boroughs: Manhattan, Brooklyn, the Bronx, Queens, and Staten Island. To my knowledge, the data that's gathered from HOPE, like the census count, is the surveys maintained by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD for short, and it's scheduled to take place on Tuesday, January 24th in 2023. It starts at 10 p.m. And keep in mind, for disclaimers, I don't work for the Department of Homeless Services. I never have. This was something I did once back in 2016 as a volunteer initiative. And I just wanted to talk about it to encourage other people to try it too. And some of you may already have. If you haven't, this is just to provide a little bit insight. And like I said, back in 2016, things might have changed a bit, so I'll be a little fuzzy on some of the details. I'll explain it as best as I can. And if you want more information on it, I'll include that. The link to their website, the email address for HOPE. They also have a special site where you can register if you do decide to volunteer, which I do recommend. So, this was back in around 2016. As you can see, this was the shirt I got. And I'd heard about it. I'd never done it before. I have been known to help out. I've done some volunteer work, not for HOPE or for DHS specifically, but for other, homeless initiatives, or, providing food for families in poverty. So this one I decided to try out. Now, I don't know exactly how they use the data when they do the count, so that you would have to ask them. I don't want to, I'm going to tell you what I know. What I'm unsure of, again, I'll just say I'm not fully aware of that. You can ask them. You can always leave questions in the comments, or you can just email them directly. So, with that being said, you had to register online, and, the site that they did, they had a series of tutorials that you could watch, which explain more what the volunteer initiative is, how it works, and what you would be doing specifically as a volunteer. And again, you could choose whatever borough you wanted, and each borough had a whole series of different locations. I chose one in Manhattan. I don't remember specifically where. It was a school, if I'm not mistaken. And I'll show you some of the photos in a moment. I would imagine by now they have it set up so that it allows a certain number of volunteers per location, because they don't want too much of one and not enough in the other. And a lot of people do volunteer for it. I don't know about the other locations or the boroughs, but in where I was, there was a considerable amount of people there. Here, as you look at these photos, this is where we came in to register. Again, I don't remember the address or the exact location. It was a part of Manhattan I wasn't familiar with, and we were put in this gymnasium where they had all these tables set up for us. A little slow in the beginning. I got there relatively early, and a good amount of people showed up. I was there with my camera, of course, taking pictures. I wasn't doing videography back then. I wish I was, but and there were people of all types there. It wasn't just city employees. There were staff from other agencies, some in the private sector, and there were even college students there, signing up to volunteer. We were broken up into groups. This is the group I was in. There were 5 of us. The 2 young girls on the left, they were college students, and that's myself in the center. And the other 2 on the right were with a different agency. I don't remember any names or any details about them. I'm not about to disclose any of that information, even if I did. The only name I'll mention, as you see here, is Bill de Blasio himself, who was the New York City mayor at the time. There were other officials that showed up. I know some of you have certain opinions on de Blasio. However, this video is not about him. I'm just mentioning that he happened to be there. I had never seen a New York City mayor in person, so, I gotta admit, I was a little curious. So, they gave the usual speeches, the introductions, and talking about how everything works. And like I said, we were broken up into different groups. We were given a map of the area that we would do. They also had like a lot of treats and everything. Just small snacks like, bars or crackers or water. I don't remember exactly what. I do remember this. In the tutorials, they tell you that when you approach these homeless people that you discover, if they ask you for money, do not give it to them. You're not authorized to do that. They didn't say anything about snacks, so that may or may not be permitted. I don't know, so I would definitely ask just to be sure. But, there was a whole bunch of them there. I didn't see any harm in providing food and water. This was us moving out at night. They started pretty late. I don't know why. That was the only thing I had I questioned about it. Why didn't they start us a little earlier? Because it was after hours. After the few photos at night, I stopped. Because you got to keep in mind two things. Even though I had a camera and I was trying to document as much as I can, I didn't want to take any pictures of the homeless people. Because one, you got to keep in mind one thing. When you're doing this, when you're approaching them, you got to respect them, and you got to respect the space that they're in, whether it's on a park bench, on a sidewalk, or somewhere in a subway station. Now, you may think that, well, that's public property, so I shouldn't have to... No, wrong. Okay, yeah, it is public property, but that's still their area, and, the way to help them, to treat them, is to do it politely, be delicate, and, approach them in a calm, presentable, and friendly way. For the most part, it went fine. I don't remember how many homeless people we found, but we found a good amount. And the way that it works is, to the best of my memory, is that when you come across one, you approach them. They say don't wake them up. We kind of did that, which I didn't feel good about, but we just wanted to be sure. And again, we did it very quietly. We announced who we are, that we're volunteers from DHS, and, we want to know if you would require any shelter services. And if they say yes, they gave us a number or some type of contact information to call. And they would send a van down to pick them up and take them to the nearest shelter in the area. And here's the thing, and I'm not going to speculate here, but of all the people that we did find, not a single one accepted the help. And that kind of tells me something. I don't know what the shelters are like. I've never been to one. I couldn't confirm or deny whether or not they're well equipped or clean or presentable. But the fact that some homeless people are more comfortable out on the streets than on a shelter, that should tell you something. And, that should also compel others in charge in higher positions, politicians and city officials, what kind of solutions they can do. The gentleman we were with, he knew that area pretty well. I didn't, so I was kind of more tagging along, but, I got involved. We each took turns presenting ourselves every time we found someone. For the most part, everything went smoothly, and it was not a part of Manhattan I was familiar with, but it was, a peaceful kind. When it got dark out, everywhere we went was relatively populated. There was no, dark streets. We didn't see any people that didn't look unsafe. Only at one time when I quietly woke up one homeless person, he wasn't too amused, and he started raising his voice. He was pretty angry. And I just backed away. I just said, sorry, he's trying to be as sincere, as apologetic as can be, and just walked away. We didn't even bother asking him for help. It's going to happen, and the key to a situation like that is do not do anything to escalate it. Don't take it personal. If one of them stands up and calls you some, explicitives, some profanity, don't call it back to them. You got to understand the situation that they're in. You got to be a little more sympathetic. That was only that one time, and like I said, other than a quick me getting a little verbal spat, I just walked away and kept on going, and we proceeded. At one point, we even had to go in one subway station, and it was a multi-level one. I don't remember the station. We did find one individual who not only appeared homeless, but he was ill. He was vomiting. I'm not going to confirm or deny whether it was sickness or alcohol. Yes, some of them drank, but I don't want to make any assumptions. We did ask him if he was okay, and part of the procedure, if I do remember, is that if you see someone in need of medical attention, you dial 911, which we did, and, we told them who we were and the purpose of the call. And some EMTs showed up. It was a young lady and another gentleman, and they were very polite. They were very kind. They just spoke to him, asked him some basic questions about his health. They gave him an examination, and they took him away, I would imagine, to the nearest hospital, just to make sure he's treated for whatever it is he's afflicted with. Again, I don't know what caused him to be sick, but he was, and that was part of the procedure. After that, we never heard of it again. I don't even think we reported it when we got back to the location where we started off from, but there was no follow-up, bottom line. It does take a long time, and it does go well into the night, believe it or not. You think you can go through it rather quickly. You're not. We covered a lot of ground. We, like I said, we encountered a good amount of homeless people, and they were all, for the most part, on their own. We didn't see any, 3 or 4 of them huddled together in one spot. And they set up impersonators. The DHS does this. People posing as homeless people, and if you find them, they give you a card or something indicating that you were there, just to make sure to see how thorough you were. I don't think anyone really volunteers for the sake of, just slacking off or dragging their feet. After all, you're investing a good amount of time into the evening. It's not labor intensive, but you do a lot of walking around. And we not only found our markers, on the way there, we found some homeless people and decided to talk to them. And they gave us markers, but they were markers for a different location that happened to be there along the way, which we couldn't accept it because we'd be taking somebody else's marker. And we just kept on going. I would imagine, I don't remember the month, I think it was around January. I'm assuming it was around January. It was cold out. I don't remember it being intensely cold, but it was a little on the chilly side given the month. So yeah, we had to dress warmly. And for the most part, the 2 college girls, they kind of kept to themselves. They knew each other. I only talked to them briefly, and even the other ones, but I don't know. Not too many of the members of my group seemed too interested in socializing, which is fine. You're there. You may as well try and get to know the people you're with while, doing the count. Towards the end, I was getting pretty tired. My legs were pretty sore from all the walking, and by the time we walked all the way back, the 2 college girls, they walked way ahead of us, and I started walking, and the other 2 that were with the same agency, I don't remember which agency, but they pretty much kept to themselves, so I kind of walked on. Yeah, I was the odd lot member of the group, the 5th wheel. Again, which is fine. I'm there for a purpose. I wasn't there to make friends, although that would have been nice. And by the time we got back, we reported our findings and everything. The 2 girls were there that said goodbye and everything, and they gave us these shirts. The other 2 from the other agency, I never saw them again. I don't even remember when they were there. They didn't, make an effort to look for us. I'll admit, I was a little, put off by that. I'm like, really? Okay, I get you don't want to talk, you don't want to be that friendly, but common courtesy to just say hello and goodbye. But, what can you do? That's people for you sometimes. And by the time I got to the train station, it was about 4 or 5 in the morning. And by the time I got home, I dozed a bit. By the time I got home, my head was pounding. I had this just pounding headache. This is just me. I have trouble sleeping sometimes, so that happens. And I eventually got home and went straight to bed. I didn't go to work the next day, which, for the record, not to get off track, the 2 girls that I talked to, the college girls, they said they had class the following day. I'm like, you're going to do an all-nighter and go right to class? You're not going to be too tired? they said no, they were cool with it. They were, you know, they had a pretty positive attitude. I said, okay. To be honest, at that age, I did all-nighters too, but I wasn't at that age in 2016, so, you know, some of my stamina had kind of faded. When I woke up in the morning, it was about 10 a.m. I literally had no energy. I was happy to have done it. I felt accomplished, even though it didn't seem as hands-on, like serving food or anything like that, but I felt good about it. You know, they needed the help. They needed to do the count to gather the data to help homeless people. I helped them do that. Maybe it was a small effort, you know, in a large pool of volunteers, but I still helped. 10 a.m. in the morning, I just had enough energy to get out of bed, use the bathroom, have cereal, and I was just sitting there on the couch. I was totally exhausted, and I just said, okay, I'm going back to bed. I said, there's nothing I can do at the moment. A few hours later, I was back out of bed again at 2 p.m., starting to feel more like a human being. Not 100%, but enough to where I could get through the remainder of the day and still feel accomplished. So that's pretty much the gist of it. And don't let, like, some of the things that I went through at the very end, like, deter you from that. Like I said, yeah, it's an all-night thing. It takes a lot out of you, but there is a certain amount of rewarding feeling that you get out of it. You know, you are still doing something noble, even though it's not as direct hands-on, like maybe serving food or, you know, or providing clothing or stuff like that. And this is only done once a year. I've spoken to people that have done it, maybe only did it once. I've met other people that have done it multiple times. So if you've never done it before and you're curious, I would say give it a shot, you know. A few weeks ago, they had something on Fox. Jesse Waters and Greg Gutfield, the two lowlifes on Fox. No, I don't have any respect for these people because they were talking about some of the homeless going on in LA where, you know, they had a lot of tents erected for them. Jesse's idea was like, don't give to them because only when a person hits rock bottom, then he can fully bounce back. It's that easy. And Gutfield was like, just put them on an island, pit them against each other, you know, and like just really disgusting low-life talk from, you know, two privileged, entitled white people who have obviously a sizable income given what they do, you know, in their profession. So they don't have a thing to worry about. So it's very easy to be condescending in a way. It is just cruel, it is disgusting talk. These people are what they are. They are assholes, okay? I hate to say the word, but, you know, calling them for what they are. Here's the thing about homeless people, and these are some of the tidbits I know. You reach out to DHS, they can give you more information on it, is that, yeah, do I want to see homeless people on the street? No, not so much because of the appearance, because they disgust me and everything, but because, you know, these people need help. Like I said before, the fact that they all refuse a shelter tells me something. What if there was more programs that provided for them housing and other federal care so they could be more taken care of so they're not living out on the streets? Here's some things about homeless in my area that people have told me, which I'll admit I didn't know, which I had made some misunderstandings on. I've seen some homeless people have cell phones. It turns out there are some charities that provide them disposable cell phones. Some of them do have families. As far as, you know, why they're living on the street when they have families, it could be pride, it could be something else. Which brings me to my next point. The bottom line is, you don't know why they're homeless. You don't know what struggles they are going through and what they have been through. Okay? So, you know, putting Fox aside, you know, given how despicable they are, you know, you need to ask yourself, what can I do to help them? You know, what can I do? These are people. These are human beings. They have souls. They have feelings, okay? Maybe they may not be, you know, the most appropriate to look at, but, you know, imagine what you would be like in those circumstances. So you got to ask yourself, what can we do to help? And these are some of the things, which is why I encourage people to get more involved. If doing an all-nighter is something you don't feel good about doing, that's fine. I can understand that. I would recommend still trying it at least once, just at least once. But if you don't want to do that, and it doesn't have to be with the Department of Homeless. There, if you don't like, or near the 5 boroughs, there are in other states, in other communities, there are different organizations, food shelters, homeless shelters that you can reach out to, that you can do a Google search on if you don't know of any. And there are other ways of volunteering. It could be serving food on the holidays or just in general, on a day-to-day basis. There are some initiatives where they do gathering of blankets or jackets to buy for them for warmth. Or the simplest thing, you could just go online and look for their website. Again, it could be the Department of Homeless Services. They have a section for volunteering, and they have a section for making donations. I'll include some more of that information below. And if you don't want to do it that way, look up the ones in your community, in the state that you live in, or in the city. Homeless people is nationwide, and it's even a global problem. I don't know the exact statistics as to how many homeless people currently exist in the United States alone, but it's a lot more than you think. There's also homeless veterans out there. How do you deal with the problem? Not by criticizing, not by, condescending them. Oh, why can't they just get a job? Well, if you've been homeless for quite some time and you haven't been able to feed yourself and clothe and clean yourself routinely, how are you supposed to get a job on your own? Let's say, how do you even get like a more reputable job, like say at a major company where you don't have a resume, you don't have access to a computer, just because you get a disposable phone that can only do so much, Let's say it's at just a regular restaurant or a fast food joint. How are you supposed to walk in there in ragged clothes, unclean, and hope to get a job? You think they're just going to hire you? No. So, it's not so easy to just look at them and say, why can't they just help themselves? Some of them have drug problems or have alcohol issues. Again, you shouldn't look at that and shake your head and say, well, they did that to themselves. You got to put your judgments aside and, reach out to the humanity in you, okay? Because cruelty is not the answer. You know what the answer is? Charity, sympathy, compassion. Those are the things that you can do to help these people. It could be something simple where you actually volunteer a reasonable amount of time, or even if you only did a few events or gatherings or a few hours at a time, or you just donate food or donate money or donate clothing. These little things can help. These little efforts help. Or it could be just something as simple as you're walking by, if you see one, maybe you may not want to give him money because you think he's going to spend it on alcohol. Fair enough. You could easily go to a diner or a convenience store or a vendor and just get him a little food, a little snack, and just hand it to him. Something like that, All those little things, those are solutions, As far as reaching out to your politicians, that I'm not so sure about, but as far as you individually, what can you do? Like I said, you can volunteer your time or make an effort. But be kind, be compassionate. Don't be cruel. That's not what these people need, all right? These are human beings. That's somebody's son, somebody's daughter. Some of them also have families, But working together, we can help create solutions that can help these people, that can reduce homeless. But in the end, it's up to you. You have to make that choice. And I'm hoping you will in some shape or form, even if you only do it once in a blue moon or a one-time thing. Every effort counts. Every dollar amount counts, A little donation, $5, it adds up and it can make a difference in someone's life. In the end, it's up to you. And as I always say, with your help, there is hope, and everyone can make a difference. I really hope you understand, and I really hope you can make an effort, in some shape or form. Anyhow, thank you for watching.